But that's a huge win to start with. Barnesy, you made your dream property happen. Like it's
How's
a
it going? Yes, I am getting it fixed up.
nice. You still got that old chair too. I love that. There's
Absolutely.
there's always that one chair that's just more comfortable in every house. We've lived all over the world because of like just travel and stuff like that, and stayed at a lot of Airbnbs. And every place has different furniture, and I can attest to the old, funny-looking chair is always the comfortable one in the house.
Yeah, this one, it's a recliner, but the footstool or whatever
so many
broke
things to do. Jesus.
3 or 4
I can hear Justin
3 or 4
moaning about
years
what he's
ago.
gonna do.
So
Hey, by the way, Christian, I saw you sneak in the background. This talk today is inspired by your question from a few weeks ago. For those of you guys who don't know, Christian asked me, hey, like, I want to do some content. Can you show us how you do content? Basically, can you show me how you sold me and the other people in the group? And I said, no problem. So you guys are about to demystify all the stuff I did on you. Anybody got any wins that you guys want to add? Like little ones, big ones, medium ones? Otherwise, you guys are gonna have to listen to me for about 45 minutes.
Knock
The
yourself out.
dentist client the eye doctor client that I got, and I've been telling you about. I was talking to him yesterday, and he asked, "How much am I paying you guys?" And I told him how much, and he's like, "That's it." And so that's kind of how you have
Yeah.
a winner. He's the guy that's like super hands off too, and is like, "Yeah, just get it done. I don't want to hear about it. Type thing." So, anyways, I'll count that as a win.
Yeah, that's actually a huge win, not just because, firstly, if he says that's it, obviously, you can charge more in the future, but also like his odds of canceling anytime soon are like pretty much zero because he doesn't even notice that amount. And those are, frankly, to me, like what's happening is you're dealing with a busier, more successful kind of client. So they're just too busy to want anything from you. Those are the best kind of clients because you can have 50 of those and manage it. If you have like one like high maintenance clients that wants you to call them like 30 times in a week about every little thing, you can maybe manage like 6 of those people before you want a bullet in your brain. But the kind of clients you have, you can have a whole roster of them and they all just kind of mostly leave you alone. I think I heard somebody else who wanted to add one, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. It might have been you, Rolf. I'm not sure. Okay, I guess not.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you could call it a win, but I don't know if we were there last week, but I don't want to have more clients. so that's kind of a win. Yeah, so I'm just in the process of setting all my SOPs and stuff up so I can get some more clients. So it's a lovely place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you in the beginning, it's hard to know that because you don't usually feel that way. But we want to get to the point where you're the selector of the clients, not them choosing you and you being like, I'll bend over backwards because you chose me. And when you choose the clients, like when you can, especially when you can sell without pressure.
Yeah.
Where you literally, I don't need you, and not like in a douchey way where it's like, I think I'm better than you, but just like, I don't need your business. So this has to be fun and a good fit for me. You'll make really good longer-term decisions out of that. Usually when you're like, I need a client today is when you end up taking somebody who's going to like drive you batshit insane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I think maybe what you're also referring to is that I have like 2 power partners, potential power, or actually power partners that want to help bringing in clients to me. So one is having like 800 hairdressers that want to send me clients, and the other one have like 1,200. So I'm going just to make sure that I can handle that.
Yeah, and just so you guys know that I plan on doing some talks on what Rolf's talking about in the future, but I remember when I first got started in my SEO agency, I did not plan it this way, by the way. This wasn't like strategic back then. I would be more strategic about it now. But what ended up happening is, I remember like there was a guy who did web design, I've told you, who had hundreds and hundreds of plastic surgery websites he managed, and reached out and asked me if I could do a little SEO. And when we rocked it, he immediately just started throwing all of his clients at me. And before I went from probably like 0 or 1 clients to close to 100 in 6 months. And it can really, really ramp. And that was with one power partner. And so, if I was starting over, one of the things that I wouldn't go after clients onesie, twosie, other than to just test my offer. But once you have that in place, like, bring an irresistible first date to somebody who's got many of them, and you'd be amazed at how exponentially fast you can grow an agency. So anyways, we're gonna get rock and rolling here. I'm gonna put my screen on if we can do that. I hear my kids outside, by the way. We have chickens now. They're right behind me, the wall here. Can you guys see all this? So I'm going to give you all the background stuff on content, so you guys can be like content wizards. And then I'm going to break it down to just 2 things that if you're at the stage where content is going to be useful to your business, that you only got 2 things to do, because that's all I actually do with you guys. It's just 2 things. So first thing is, when should you build an audience? Because I don't want you guys to do this at the wrong time. Like, sometimes I see people build an audience before they're ready. Like, I've mentioned this, Barnesy and I have some mutual friends, just amazing human beings, a power couple that, has worked for Tony Robbins for a lot of years, but they have not had a converting offer. Even they don't even really make offers, and they've been audience building for like 5 years online, and it's not going anywhere. So you don't want to do that. You want to be sure of 2 things: that your offer converts, and that these are your people. And when you're sure of those things, then the most important thing you can do long-term is to build an audience. And I'll tell you that a couple of reasons are, you want to have control over your own traffic. That's the biggest reason. It's like, if you got your own email list, Facebook can't shut you down. YouTube can't ban you for all whatever, you used a copyright thing and they don't like you anymore. But also because what ends up happening is that as people get to know you and build a relationship, your selling job becomes really easy. I actually remember the biggest example of this was a friend of mine named Mandy, who Barnesy also knows as well. In her group, she goes and does a Facebook Live and does content every single day. And then I remember, like recently, she just said, I have a retreat. It's $2,000. If you want to come, send me a message. And it's like pretty shitty copy to sell a $2,000, $3,000 retreat. And they were like, she sold out in like an hour. And it wasn't because like the damn post was so amazing. It's because she's been building a relationship with these people for years. They already know that they want to do business with her, right? So it doesn't need all the dress up. So let's start with like the actual best places to put your audience, because you want to like think about like the container you're going to have and how you're going to use it. You can start with, by the way, like other people's audiences. So Rolf, you saw me, I believe, in the Jeff Miller thing. I think Zane, you did as well. That's using somebody else's audience. I always like to start with somebody who's put in the effort to build them. But once you have that, like I would say, these are the 3 in order: is build an email list, the thing you control, a group or community on Facebook, or like a social following. And which one you should do, by the way, is just really which one's the most fun for you. Like if you're a natural video person, then I would say like get people on YouTube. If you like to more type, then email might be your thing. But like do the one that's not going to feel like work to you. And as you're building an audience, like this long-term focus is so key, because usually what ends up happening is when you start building an audience, nobody tells you this, but for the first like 30 days, you're talking to yourself. Like you have an audience of like, usually like there's 3 people in your group, and one of them is your mom. Like when you first start building an email list or a channel or a group, whatever, it's going to start from 0 and you're going to be mostly talking to yourself. So you need to really be thinking about the fact that it's like, it takes 6 months to see the true benefits of like repetitive content marketing. But here's the key, like using that golf course analogy, if you guys hit a 450-yard hole in one and sell somebody on Facebook through a cold ad, do you get paid any differently if it takes you 12 pieces of content to get them there? In my experience, not usually, right? Like you get paid the same whether it's a hole in one or 12 strokes. So that's the benefit of the group, is that you get to keep putting. So I wanted to ask you guys about this content. So we've mentioned the golf analogy a few times here about, I hope you guys didn't see that. But my question is, what actually gets the ball moving down the fairway? Like what actually moves somebody towards this sail? Anybody want to take a guess? Like how do you get somebody off the tee moving towards a sail if you're going to use content as your like tool?
I would say like people are after like a desired outcome, but I'm not sure if that's the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, and you're definitely there. You're in the ballpark, because the desired outcome, I would say, is the whole of where they're aiming for. Anybody else
You
want
want
to
to get in touch with them.
say
Them to
that
know
again? Bert?
you exist. You want them to know you exist.
Yeah, certainly they got to be aware of you. That's definitely an important piece of the puzzle.
That seems first thing.
But I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who have awareness they exist who don't sell anything, who don't get the ball moving off the tee. So you're correct that awareness is obviously a key
Okay.
piece, but it's not the whole expression.
Well, the best thing would be probably to have an outcome that they will never reach, and you can always get them closer and closer to the goal, right? So you can
Yeah.
actually like building a successful digital business, right? And then you
Yeah.
can actually just kind of sell them every step of the way. That would be
course.
the ideal thing to do, actually.
And yeah, so you guys are like thinking about the whole, and that's part of one of the reasons I love you guys without trying to get too dirty, is that you guys think about the whole a lot.
I guess you need a golf ball in this situation, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we
is that what
need a
you're
golf
thinking?
ball, definitely. But you guys are like just forward-thinking people, and so you're always like, as entrepreneurs, we're always thinking about our goals. A lot of times we're like stressing about the fact that we're not at that goal yet. And so you guys, like most of your life, but most people, I'll tell you, are not where you guys are. And I like it to compare it to, like, if there's a lion who has a thorn in his paw, then telling him you're going to have a completely healed hand, it's going to be amazing, and he's going to feel great, and he's going to walk like brand new, is far less appealing than like, let me just pull it out. And so the thing that actually gets the ball rolling, by the way, is present pain. And the finger pointer is, if you can point to a symptom that they do not like in their reality, that's what goes, boop, the ball just suddenly moved anywhere from like 30 to 350 yards down the tee. If you can point to something that, so there's a secret to this, by the way. And I should put one more, but they'll tell you. And if you're willing to just listen. So the first thing I would do is just ask your present clients. Like, you can always just send them an email and say like, hey, I was thinking of you and how we got started, and I wanted to make this more useful to you. If you don't mind me asking, like, when we first got started, like, what were you trying to do? What were you trying to fix? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if I'm helping a lawyer to make TV commercials, I don't, but I've been in those meetings. Like telling a lawyer he's going to have a successful 7-figure multi-advertising campaign is actually less appealing than the present pain of the fact that he lost a case to somebody he knows he's a better lawyer than. Right? Like, are you sick of losing to that guy? He's a fucking idiot. Let's just make better commercials than him. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of shortcuts for this. Okay, this is my secret shortcut. It's all in the research. I don't guess at any of this. So you guys have seen this before if you've been on the last couple of calls. This is just a search I did in Jeff's group for the, and I always search for the same kind of thing. What's the worst part of blank? Being a dentist, running an agency, running an e-commerce store. What's the worst part of your business? I'm looking for present pain, right? So I want to know what they consider to be whatever they're unhappy about. And I'm looking for always stuff that gets really upvoted. Clients that don't call their leads back in a timely manner. Right? So I actually, Rolf and Tarek, you guys inspired me to write a post. It's hard to measure the direct benefits, but I bet you there's some golf balls that started moving down the fairway when I started talking about this on that post. Even if I don't like see it in terms of likes and comments and things like that, I bet you there's a couple of people that said that's me. This one says scam artist in the industry. And again, we're looking for things we can finger point. When the potential client says, we'll test with extremely low budget so you can prove yourself. Anybody ever had one of those, by the way? Or 100 of those? Can we point to the client's exact words? Of course we can, right? So what I'm looking for on all of these, I'm just looking for, you'll notice a simple theme. And there's usually 4 websites I use if I can't ask a client, by the way. Asking a client is the best way. What's the most difficult part of running a dentist? Patients think we have 0 overhead cost, right? So rather than guess, we want to know for sure. So if I wanted to finger point to this issue, how would you do it? You can point to all their overhead costs. I'll tell you, just like my mom worked at a dental office. They have an office. They have shitloads of insurance. They got hygienists and staff. They got to have somebody answer the phone. Like if you finger point to all of those things and say, I have a way to raise your fees to make those overhead costs less substantial, you'll sell more SEO packages if you can do it around pointing to present pain. So here's another thing about like types of patients they don't like. When you're doing an MODBL subgingival filing, a number 18 in a hefty elderly patient on a blood thinner, he can't see it all the way back because of back and neck issues and has a tongue and gag reflex. You recommended a crown, but patient be like, I got no money and I'm about to die soon. Just fill it, doc. So you have no choice but to cry and pick up your handpiece. You barely touch the gingiva with your instruments only to unleash the floodgates of fresh blood that gushes out onto your bonding. You try to keep the area nice and dry, but no amount of viscostat, cord pressure, or Traxident will save you from the bleeding. You think rubber dam will solve your problems, but no, the preparation is near the bone level. So you do some poor man's crown lengthening because patient can't afford anything expensive. It's only been 15 minutes and the patient asked if you were almost done. He tells you that his previous doc would have been done by now. You finish the filling and your back and neck is achy, your hair is disheveled, and your morale is low. All this work for a low reimbursement insurance, which pays like 150 bucks for the filling. Mr. Bossman takes 30% of your production and your take home is 45 bucks. As you drive home, you question your life choices and wonder if you would be happier doing real estate or cocaine and investment banking. Right? Like real finger pointy shit here. And, you know, I've done this in the past, just so you guys know. I've literally just copied and pasted stuff like this and just put it into an ad. And I write the last sentence or two where I introduce my solution. So in this case, like if we're positioning our stuff to a dentist, it's going to be a lot more appealing if we say, you know, those people who beg for you to be done and bleed and all these things you just listed. What if I could bring you people who instead paid you 35 grand? And we're gone in an hour and said thank you, right? He's probably going to be a little more appealing to him, right? So all of this is like, this is finger pointing as hell. I would use this. And again, this is the worst single experience in his practice is what he just wrote. So that's an expensive problem to him that he would like solve. And he's not the only one.
Sorry, what did you search to find this? Because I've done a little bit of this before and I found it kind of difficult to, do you just type like, I think the title was like the most difficult or what's difficult about being a dentist or something like that.
Yeah, I search for just like most difficult part. And then if I'm doing it on Google, I'll insert the quotes. So like all I did for this one is I just typed in reddit.com, hardest part of being a dentist, and it'll show mostly Reddit results. And then I just look at the titles. What's the most difficult part about running a dentistry? Is being a dentist really that hard? This one is like hardest part of dental school. So like I skip that, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to know about dental school. I want to know hardest part about someone who is a dentist. Dark side of being a dentist, hardest part of being dentist. You find all those kind of things. And if I wanted to search Quora, I would just change it to Quora at the front. And I'm sure I would find more good answers. Dark side of being a dentist, there's a lot of saliva. People have no idea how to control their tongue. We forget all this stuff, by the way. When you show up to it like a dentist and you say, I'm gonna bring you more patients, he doesn't think, oh, great. He thinks more saliva, more fucking nasty tongues. And another one, by the way, that you can always use is Amazon. I just go down to the reviews and I look at the 5 and 1 star reviews. And I look for ones that 375 people found helpful. This was what I was looking for to supplement Rosetta Stone Spanish. My 9th grade daughter was using Rosetta Stone, but was really not retaining much or getting solid in the grammar. To her, Rosetta Stone is too vague. Plus, she was constantly using Google Translate to figure out what they wanted for worksheet instructions. So I look into finding a textbook type approach with English instructions and grammar exercises. This fit the bill. Check out the picture I attached of lessons, exercises, and answers. So there's finger pointy stuff in here, by the way. This is the one I would try first. She was constantly using Google Translate to figure out what they wanted. Are you taking a language program and you still have to constantly use Google Translate? Which, by the way, is definitely a thing for me right now. Como estas, Starbucks? So here's another one, same idea. And I wanted to show you guys just language because I have a buddy in language, but I wanted to show you like a different market so you can kind of just see this from like an outside perspective because it's the same in every niche. So Drew says, I think there was another one I found here. This one. I have 12 years of experience with this book. I have studied several other methods of learning Spanish and have found this one truly a magical key to Spanish. As an American English speaker, I didn't start studying this until I was 57 years old when it became imperative that I learn to speak and understand Mexican Spanish. I've been speaking Spanish for 12 years now. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you that you're too old to learn. I did it. I have recently purchased 2 more copies of this book because I'm using it to teach English to my children. I can blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read you guys all the ranting and raving, but here's the deal, right? It became imperative that I learn to speak and understand Mexican Spanish. By the way, does that sound like an urgent problem? Thorn in the paw? Like, is that guy going to pay more than just somebody who's casually interested in Spanish? I bet you he does. So if we're thinking about making a product, you could just take your existing, like if you're the Spanish course guy, and I know you guys aren't, but like just giving you an idea, imagine if your course is suddenly now we can help you urgently learn Mexican Spanish. One more I want to show you guys. This one I've shown you guys lots, but this is a special near and dear one to me because I've used this in my speeches and in my webinars. Is I went searching hardest part of being a lawyer. This is on Quora, and here's a lawyer who at the time had the most upvotes. There's more upvoted answers since. But he said, unfortunately, the hardest part of being a lawyer by far are the clients, not the good clients who have reasonable expectations and who listen to your advice and take it as the learned analysis of a professional. No, I mean the clients who are in this on principle or think they know the law better than you or just want to make them hurt. And that was the part of it that I used for my speech right there. It's like, that's a finger pointy symptom. So you'll actually hear me if you ever listen to any of those speeches, which I don't suggest you do, but I'll say, hey, how many of you guys feel like the hardest part of being a lawyer by far are the clients? And I don't mean the good clients, the people who have reasonable expectations and who listen to your advice and take it as the learned analysis of a professional. No, I mean the clients who are in this on principle or think they know the law better than you or just want to make them hurt. By the way, just as somebody who does this, I know this guy sucks at setting expectations for his clients. And if he fixed that, like probably 80% of those client issues would probably go away. He thinks it's like he's just clients are bad in general, and he doesn't realize that he's probably setting them up to be that way. And then it could be an issue of just going after the wrong people. But when you're creating ads for these people, or you're creating content, or you're creating like a follow-up email or a YouTube thing or whatever, wherever your content goes, like here's what you're going to talk about. You ever have those clients who are just in this on principle, think they know the law better than you, who, well, you guys get the idea anyway, sorry. Where was I going with this? Here we go. So those are just some places. And by the way, I'll tell you how I do this really, really simply. I just join, like for you guys, I just join a bunch of agency groups and I don't even have to look for it. You guys just show up in my feed. And I'm just looking for like symptoms I can point to. And that's really, really it. And I've also like, if I want to like do the research, like, cause I'm kind of nerdy, I'll show you guys just how I do this. You guys feed me endless amounts of content. Like I don't have to come up with content ideas. I'm not sitting here going, man, what will I talk about next? Other than I feel like it's a little repetitive. Like people just hear me talk about the same shit. I think I just broke my computer there trying to start Chrome, but in Chrome, I've got it set up. So each of the agency groups is a different tab that opens. So I literally can like read all your questions and comments in about 10 minutes. Okay, let me just close. Okay, so you guys can kind of see this. It's lagging my computer, so I'm gonna close it. But like here's one called Local Client Takeover. Here's another one called Facebook Ad Agency Builders. Like, I don't know what I just did. There we go. Let's close that. So these are the 5 Ps that you're actually trying to pre-sell in your content, by the way. If you want to think about like boxes to check, is you want to talk about their problem. You want to openly share your personality. And I'll tell you, this is one of those amazing things. Like, I'll tell you when I first realized that, I told you guys, I signed my emails, "May the force be with you." And I had a lawyer once reach out and work with me and say, "I wanted to work with you because of how you signed your emails." That's called pre-selling the personality, right? Like, you know, we can geek out a little bit. So you guys want to be upfront about that in your content. You don't want people like, for example, if you say the word fuck and that offends people, like don't wait till you start working together to do that. Put fuck in your content so they can learn really quickly. Your overall philosophy, like in our case, like I think most of us here like really want like a really cool lifestyle agency. Like we want to have a really awesome agency so that we can live life, not so that we can be like staring at ad managers and doing phone calls and all those kind of things. You want to pre-sell your plan. So when you guys hear me talking about like 5-step Loom videos and things like that, or you know, like reusing things in an agency, like I'm pre-selling the plan. And then of course the price. And I've mentioned this before, but if you guys are not comfortable putting your price up front and the value of it, you can talk about it indirectly. You can say things like, we could easily charge X number of dollars for this, but we don't because we want to help more people. So all of this, by the way, I want to make it really simple for you guys to execute. And that is, there's really only 2 types of content that I create. So type 1 is content around like a dramatic demonstration. So Christian, you're up first since you like inspired this whole talk. This I thought was a fucking great example of a simple but powerful dramatic demonstration. Another beautiful website and happy customer, this time for Westminster Vision and Clemson SC, blah, blah, blah. It's a beautiful website. Christian, I think you said, correct me if I'm wrong, but you got like a couple of like kind of white label people that asked you if you can design websites for them on this post.
Yeah, I have a couple different like custom friend lists that I put, you know, post instead of having a group, which I probably will make a group here eventually, but I have a couple different, you know, custom friend list. And I didn't get any like business clients, which most of them are already my clients anyways. But I did get a couple people who are other web designers interested in wanting to do white label work out of this. So yeah, it definitely worked well.
Yeah, and it's an asset, right? Like you can trot this post out once a month. I bet you if it worked the first time, it'll work the second time, it'll work the third time. And even sometimes what's surprising is it works on people who saw it and reached out to you and may have not even, you think like, okay, they changed their mind or they didn't need it, but they'll go, oh, yeah, I meant to do that thing. So that was a simple example. This is an example of the whole. Is like your website could look like this. And the present pain, which is kind of implied, which is if they know they have a shittier website than that, then they're thinking, oh, my website's ugly. That's the thorn in the paw. So I just wanted to show you guys a couple of the ones that I do. So like in this time in the agency, like rather than telling people retain clients, I show them what the difference in payments look like. This is where most agencies are. 3 times somebody sends money. This is, if you do it right, you get 24. Would you rather have 3 or 24, right? But instead of just saying that with words, I try and show it visually, like if it was in a movie. Here's another one that I did, like, I forget who came in from this one, but one of you guys came in from, like, it was Joseph. Yeah, he was interested in the fact that, like, I'm signing clients, but they're kind of like, you know, arm twisty. And it was like, imagine you could have instead clients that were hell yes about working with you. So this is an example, again, of the golf ball, and the present pain that's moving off the tee is like, my people are less than hell yes about working with me. Yeah, like I get clients, but they're not like super stoked about our relationship. This one actually, Tarek, you inspired, because I remember you said once that I made a Facebook ad post, and instead of saying it's really competitive, I took a screenshot of Facebook ad agency or something like that in Google and just showed how many gazillion competitors there are. And he said for him that was more impactful than, you know, just hearing it's competitive. You're like, holy shit, there's like fucking 4 trillion of us, right? And you realize how competitive it is. So this is a post I had in there. This is like showing the present pain and the whole, because one of the things is people were complaining about, they're like, man, I'm trying to get my agency started, but it's so damn competitive. And I'm like, well, it's actually even more competitive than you think. And then my after state is showing how to like get out of that. I don't know if you guys remember that post, but it's a good one, by the way. If I was talking about, like, this is one I had saved in the vault, and I don't know if I use this in a piece of content, but I was talking about the fact that, like, I used to send these really pretty SEO reports, and clients said, that's beautiful. What the fuck does it mean? This is the kind of stuff I used to send clients, by the way, this kind of thing. And they would say, that looks amazing. Now, can you tell me in English what I'm looking at? And I would used to get really frustrated. And I'm like, well, you're moving up the rankings and we're still building backlinks. And it's like, we're still running towards the goal. Oh, Justin's still using this. And you probably get that exact same thing, either one of 2 things. It's half your clients ask you what the hell it means, and the other half don't say anything, but think that. And then you get in a situation, at least I did. If you only do that, they don't know what they're buying from you. And then they feel weird about asking you. What are we paying for again? So that's an example of that one. I just did one recently. Most agencies are onboarding, and I said onboarding is like asking a client, like, license and registration, please. I actually just had this because our land deal is going through and we're reaching out to lawyers here in Mexico. And there was one guy, we reached out to him, he's on Telegram, and he left us a voice message. And the voice message was basically like, what do you want? Right? Like, that was just for real. I'm like, hey, I have this really big land deal. I want to give you guys, like, from what I hear, it's going to cost me like 25 G's. I'm considering giving you those 25 G's. And it's like, what do you want? That like ruins the whole thing. So we want, look, when I'm illustrating welcome aboard to be like a well-orchestrated first date, I just went in Google and looked for like a first date. You don't want to be the license and registration. You want to be the, hey, it's so nice to connect with you. Here's another one. This is the golf hole. Is instead of saying like you're going to make more sales, I show visually what more sales looks like, which for me is just like Zoho says money sent to you. And obviously the implied present pain, if you're looking at that, is if your inbox doesn't look like that and you want it to look like that, you're probably going to feel some sort of, you know, present pain about that. Now, here's a really good one about just pointing directly to the present pain. And I wanted to show you guys these because a lot of times, obviously the best dramatic demonstration you'll give is a really good case study. But a lot of times people think, well, I don't have case studies, so how can I make a demonstration? And Oral talked to some dentists and they said, kind of like pretty universally, like, I had somebody come in and make me this like $40,000 website. It's beautiful, but the chair's empty. The hygienist is just sitting there looking at an empty chair. By the way, when they say things, just talking about dentists for a second, patients think we have 0 overhead costs. If he's got a hygienist looking at that chair and he's paying her to look at a chair, like how much present pain do you think he's feeling about that? So wherever possible, we want to show this. And I've said this before, like showing the T and the whole together is what weight loss has done for a gazillion years. So this is their present symptom that they don't feel good about. And this is the whole, the desired outcome that you guys mentioned that they want to have. And if you can show these together, it works even better. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And then of course you can always use screenshots of conversation. So here's oral, I got my first dentist, 16 days in. Brian, clients are sticking with us. We have no weekly meetings whatsoever. Right, like if I'm trying to make a point that like you can have an agency with no meetings, this is an example of it. Obviously, if you got stuff like this, use it. But if you don't, like just build it up over time. Here's Christian that I used the other day, and he, he got his eye doctor to sign on for like 2 or 3 months, and compared to web design, that's like, that's a happy client who's happy that they found somebody good like Christian, and he gets ongoing payments, right? Like, which is better than selling a website once. I just had a post the other day, Loom tutorial, right? Here's the dramatic demonstration. This is what it looks like when you sell somebody with the Loom videos. They just show up in your inbox and it's done. This was Dan when he was doing like revenue share deals, right? It's better to show that than just say, I got a revenue share deal. It's more impactful to see a picture of the actual deal. I think this is you, Hendrikus, just said, hey, I've gotten people to message back. This was Justin. I just screenshotted this, by the way. I always like to, when I remember to screenshot this stuff. Scaled up and doubled his longest standing client. And he's got a profit share on the extra too. Nice work, by the way, Justin.
Thanks, man.
This was actually from a couple of years ago, but I always like to save this cool stuff when I have a cool GIF lined up. This was Leah, who was at our mastermind, and I remember she like walked out in half of it and then came back in. Yeah, and she didn't say anything about it at the time, but I was like, hey, like, are you all right? And she was like, oh, I just closed 4 deals at 12K each, so now I got 48,000 from this thing. So this is an example, like when people want stuff in their inbox, like they want people have meetings booked with them who want to work with them. I showed an example of what that looks like. Here's a guy who was like not closing sales, and then I said, you're interrogating these people, just be more natural, and showed him some places where he could just be, a real guy with them, and he closed a dude. Was all happy about that. And there's Thomas just saying, like, on one of our trainings that he did like a couple $100,000 deals and called me a cocksucker, which is, can only laugh at that. So dramatic demonstrations, by the way, are basically just 3 things. Like when you want to use them in your content is how to use this. Okay, so I want to give you guys like practical stuff for how to use it. If I'm looking at somebody who says, when potential client says, we'll test with extremely low budget so we can prove yourself, I don't know how I would necessarily point to that, but I mean, the exact words, right? Like quoting the exact words. So I might make a post that starts you. Actually, I did. I used this exact one. Client says, we'll test with extremely low budget so you can prove yourself. Dentists, like they have, where do they have overhead costs that we can point to? Like I said, they got a building, they got insurance, they got hygienists, they got staff, they got electricity, they got property tax, and on and on and on, right? So like, if you show all those things and then say, do patients act like you don't have any of this? And this guy is just like finger pointing central. A hefty elderly patient on a blood thinner can't sit all the way back because of neck issues. And by the way, this is a really common thing in dentistry as well. You're bent over people's mouth, neck and back and neck is achy. right? So if you say, hey, come buy my SEO package, that's very different than, is your back and neck achy because you're bent over, a lot of low value people who think you have no overhead costs, the kind of people who are hefty elderly patients on a blood thinner that can't sit all the way back because of back and neck issues and has a fat tongue and a gag reflex. And they say, I got no money and I'm about to die soon. Just fill it, doc. Well, here's the deal. I know how to bring you the $35,000 people that you only got to see like 2 a month and be crushing it in your practice. Would you be interested in those people? Unless you enjoy questioning your life choices and wondering if you'd be happier doing real estate or cocaine and investment banking. So that's like content kind of one. It's like dramatic demonstrations. And this is the one I actually probably used a whole bunch more. And Tarek, we've talked about this, just kind of you and I, but I wanted to make something more formal for you guys, which is the triangle of insight. And the triangle of insight is basically, it's just done with words, and it helps somebody get to see their problem in a new way. And it's really composed of 3 things. Is the symptom, which we find from them, and then breaking down what is the unhelpful assumption and creating what I call like a simple story or metaphor as an example of this. So let me show you guys what I mean here. Let's grab. So here's one, like this is a really good example. They're taking Rosetta Stone, they're trying to do Spanish. But we mentioned here, what was the thing we were going to point to? What would be the symptom?
So using Google Translate.
Yeah, exactly. And we can make that a dramatic demonstration as one, as if we do, right? Like somebody holding their phone asking themselves, hold on, I have to read this from Google Translate. Necesito Google Traducir. That's actually it in Spanish. Un momento, necesito Google Traducir. 1 minute, please. I need Google Translate. So we could easily create a visual picture out of that. Now here's the part of it that's probably a little more art, but once you guys practice this a little bit, you get really good at it. Is what do you think is the unhelpful assumption for somebody who's like here trying to learn from Rosetta Stone? Like what kind of unhelpful assumption do you see that makes it harder for them to learn Spanish? I'll give you a couple because there's never just one. One is she said, I'm looked into finding a textbook type approach. I'll tell you, as somebody who's like, you know, I know pieces anyways of multiple languages. Obviously like German, some Spanish, some French. The worst thing you can do is learn from a textbook. So like that to me is actually already an unhelpful assumption. Here's another one, that Rosetta Stone is anything but shit. But let's go with the textbook type of approach. So let's actually, I'm going to write these down just so we can actually have these to work with here for a second. Whoops. So we mentioned the symptom, need Google Translate. The unhelpful assumption is that you got to learn from a textbook. So if we wanted to create like a story or metaphor that kind of illustrates that, I'll tell you what just jumps to my mind immediately, and there's a lot of ways to do this, is for me, that's like, if I'm like trying to make a story, that's like trying to learn to meet women right? It's like trying to learn to meet women by reading a book at home in bed. There's probably just not, unless if you're not abundant in that thing already, there's probably not a bunch of women already laying in your bed, right? So creating like a simple story, and this is probably the part that I think the most about, just so you guys know, like it might take me sometimes like 5-10 minutes to come up with it. But when we're creating the content, this is the framework I use to write the post. And I almost always start with symptom. Like, hey, you ever had it where you need Google Translate? Well, that's like trying to learn to meet women by reading a book at home in bed. In other words, it's literally the most inefficient way you could do it. And I found that with our new methodology of like just practicing with real conversations over people over Zoom, you can learn in an hour more than you would in 3 months of textbook learning, which is a fact, by the way. An hour of real conversation with a human in another language will learn faster. So, you know, obviously I don't know what your product or your solution is in this case, because we're just using a fictitious example, but imagine you could create a product that instead was like, hey, come join our calls and have real conversations with people in both languages. Anybody here, by the way, like in the process of learning another language, just out of curiosity? Barnsley's learning English for the first time.
Only learning marketing language.
Yeah. Yeah, copywriting is definitely a language in and of itself. Like most people wouldn't recognize that, but it's a different way to like write and talk, definitely. On my list, Justin's got Spanish. So this is really it, is like in the creating content is like, we go to the market, we find a symptom, we figure out what's the unhelpful assumption that's actually making that harder on them. And I like the word unhelpful assumption because it's done without judgment. Because if you're like, you know, how are they doing this poorly or badly? Like it introduces judgment. I just like look at there's some kind of assumption that makes it more difficult. So you'll see me use this where people say like, and I may do this in the near future with some posts. Like for example, like a lot of times people have sales objections on their calls. To me, the worst of the sales objection was the proposal, because then that meant like I would chase that person and I would not know for a fucking month whether they were just going to do the deal or just ghost me forever. And like, I just hated proposals because like, I'm just following up with you to see if you read my proposal. Like I would rather somebody just flat out tell me, fuck you, no, than proposal me and say, yeah, we'll check it out and we'll get back to you. I got to talk to my partner, cousin, uncle, you know, those kind of things. And if I look at that as like a symptom of like proposals, to me, the unhelpful assumption is that you have to even close clients with a proposal at all. I got children and I can't see you if you're trying to tell me. I see nothing but reflection. She's trying to tell me something through the door. No, thank you. Amazon just brought me a Super Nintendo controller and she's laughing. That just happened. So this is the framework. Do you guys have any questions here just about this framework? Because I know this is kind of like new, but is it like a simple way, I'm hoping, to for you guys to be able to like come up with like really powerful, persuasive content? So another like example, by the way, I'll give you one that I'm using right now with our new offer, and I'm still kind of figuring it out a little bit. So I don't want to like give you guys the impression that I got it all like maximized yet. But one of the things that lawyers hate, like more than anything else, is when they lose a case to another lawyer. They almost always think like that guy's shittier than them. And so I'm making the point that like 95% of their web traffic doesn't convert, and most of that ends up going to another lawyer. And I would say the unhelpful assumption that they have is actually really, really simple in this case, is that you can't do anything about it. And in their case, the simple story that I'm using is about a law firm that's called Morgan & Morgan, which is they're the 800-pound gorilla, biggest law firm in the country. And if you're in Orlando, you see all their billboards and stuff everywhere, and you hear the radio ads and you see their TV commercials. And I'm just saying like, instead of losing a client to another lawyer and thinking you can't do anything about it, what if when those people leave your website, you could just suddenly turn into like a digital Morgan & Morgan where they fucking see you everywhere, can't avoid you. Yeah, and so that's the framework. And I use this framework, by the way, also to create ads. So like if you're doing this in ads, if you're doing this in content, doesn't matter. It's like you can use, it's a pretty universal thing that applies to human everywhere. Another example I've used of the story besides Morgan and Morgan is actually a really, really simple metaphor. I'll say it's like a bucket of water that leaks 95% of the water you just paid for. Right, that's like, imagine having a bucket of water that leaks 95% of the water. Wouldn't you want to like patch some of the holes in there? Right, so like simple metaphors help them really understand it. And this part is like, it does take a little bit of practice. I'm not gonna lie. When I first started doing this thing, it was kind of a little bit unnatural for me. But the more you can do this, they'll see in your head why they can look at this another way. So maybe I'll actually find you guys an example of this. I think that would be like kind of helpful to show you guys. All right, let's find a post from me rambling on. This is good, by the way. Julia Roberts finds life and her holes get better with age. I guess I haven't read. Oh, here we go. The truth about clients that don't call their leads back up in a timely manner. Where did I get that from, by the way? Clients don't call their leads back in a timely manner. Like I'm not guessing at these things. I'm testing topics that have kind of been demonstrated to work. So here's my little story. Is to me, the unhelpful assumption in that is thinking it's the client's job that they shouldn't just know automatically that they should call people back. And the truth is, I've just found from years of doing this, they don't even know it's their job. They don't even know they're bad at it. How can they fix a problem they don't even know they have, right? They think they're good at answering the phone. Sorry, girl's hitting on me over here. So this is me right here. Like if you're breaking this down, a triangle of insight, like I'm literally just copy and pasting the symptom. And the unhelpful assumption is, to me, that's not my job. And my little story, which is probably not the greatest story, but a lot of times I do this between kids freaking out and things like that. So I don't always have full preparation time. But when I worked at Ford, this is a true story. Everybody used to say it's not my job. And when nobody like took responsibility for that, what ended up happening is like, basically I watched my place go bankrupt. And so this was my dramatic demonstration, by the way, is this little meme. I just went into Google Images and said, waiting for that person, or waiting for callback, and this guy came up. And I'm like, so it wasn't like a post that crushed it, but I guarantee you without like being able to measure this, some balls started moving down the fairway, just a little bit. And so this is like, we mentioned the 5 Ps, also pre-selling the plan, which is if you wait and do what most people do, then after 3 months, the clients are going to say, all your leads are shit, which is basically what does happen. But if you show them at the beginning that they have a phone problem, they're so much more open to fix it. And often I've had like people pay even more money when they find out, shit, can you help us fix that too? Sure. I was going to anyway, but let's talk about a more comprehensive solution that'll cost you more money. And what ends up happening is if you tell them up front and you make it your responsibility to help them solve those issues as well, then what ends up happening is you get people to pay you a lot longer, and there's, you know, more inherent value in what you do. And then I just wanted to add 2 things that I found really helpful, by the way, with this framework is you can pitch in every single piece of content. Like people ask me, like, is it okay to pitch? Like, how much should be content? Like, soft pitch. If you want my help with that, reach out. Like, you don't have to be like a real pushy, like, try my 7-step system now, including 8 new bonuses. Like, you don't have to be like a douchey marketer. Just like, hey, if you want my help to do this thing. In this case, the thing would be clients don't call back their leads in a timely manner. If you want my help fixing that issue, then reach out. And also, one of the things that really, really helps conversions, by the way, is if you can get them to do something. I found, like, so when they join the group, a lot of people will send the script and they'll go, holy shit, somebody replied. And immediately it puts them in the face of the next challenges, which, oh shit, my offer doesn't convert. Does anybody know an offer guy? Right? Like, so it's a little bit strategic. It's designed to put them right up against the challenge. So if you can get them to do something in this case, and you want that something to be something really small that they can copy and paste and just get like a little meaningful result. In my case, it's a script. But you can get creative with this, right? So if they're in Spanish, they're stuck on the textbook style of approach, and they're using Google Translate, then my little copy and paste thing, like, hey, try this question, and next time you're stuck, say, ¿Qué es eso? What is this? What is this? What is this? And all of a sudden it'll open up the conversation again for you, and instead of getting stuck, you'll learn. Does that mean they fully learned Spanish and got it all figured out? No, but they're so much more likely to believe you, right? So we want to intentionally give them a small little piece that butts them up against the next challenge. I found that to be really, really helpful in the conversion stuff. So I wanted to make you guys hear something, because Christian, that was a great question about content. But that's really the two things. Figure out how you can demonstrate the symptoms and solutions, and use some triangle of insight to get them to see it a new way. And this, by the way, works even if you're just replying to somebody. Right? Like if somebody said in a group, man, like my client sucks, they don't call leads back. And if I'm like intentionally trying to like use that as a place to get potential clients organically, then I could use the same framework as this post. Where did that just go? Hey, I know it sucks when clients don't call your leads back in a timely manner. In fact, when I used to work at Ford, like the union nuts used to always say, that's not my job, and the place just went to shit. But here's the thing, like most clients don't even know that it's a problem. They don't even know they suck at the phone. And so if you wait 3 months and tell them like all your leads are shit, or they'll tell you all your leads are shit, you're usually just gonna get into a pissing match. I found, let them know they're shit at answering the phone on day one. And if you do that, they're like just much more open to solving that problem, because it's an issue they didn't even realize they had. And I just use a guy on Fiverr. I could just do that as an answer. It doesn't have to be like this post, but so yeah. So any questions on that before we get into just whatever's come up for you guys?
Yeah. Thanks for that. I thought that was pretty helpful, like how to actually kind of like a script basically of how to create a post. Makes a lot of sense. What sort of routines or structure do you have in place to do this consistently? I mean, do you have like, hey, I'm going to do some research on Monday, or are you always looking and just have like a report, like, just kind of like a repertoire of like content? I don't know. Like, how do you, like, if we're looking to do this more consistently, what would you recommend to do?
To me, it's just like groups. Like it's really that simple. Is like, so here's one, like I get a lot of my content ideas from Jeff Noack's group. I'm part of the group, so when I scroll, these posts show up in my feed without me trying. Lunch and learn, bring your questions. So like nobody's answered yet, but if there were questions here, I'd be reading them. Let's solve the biggest problem in your agency today. Ask away and it'll get answered. So that one I'll probably watch later, because I'm like, I want to know what your biggest problems are. So here's one, like a lot of this stuff, like I just skip. I'm looking specifically for symptoms. So by the way, and you even notice just like business opportunities, like looking for recommendations for agencies that specialize in podcasts, not production, but growth and monetization. In other words, I want an agency who can grow my podcast, right? There's shit tons of agencies. He's not getting a boatload of recommendations. Right, so I would like, if I wanted to, like if I just position myself as I'm the podcast agency, I bet you I could be shooting clients with a fish. Do you sell info products? Looking for deals, like I might even just reach out to this guy where, you know, like, hey, I got some stuff. This is the peacock post, by the way. Like, this is the guy who's like fishing for clients and doing it really obviously. Like, look at me, I used to be a homeless wreck. Now I'm, it's the same basic story. Of course, I go to show you this and there's no examples. So here's one that I look, okay, so this is a symptom, is saying that Facebook interest targeting expansion checkbox will be mandatory soon. Is this true? So he's having, you can clearly see he's worried about his targeting, but I just look and see 2 comments, not a lot of followers. So that's like that's a thorn in a lion's paw. That's probably just a little teeny tiny one that he's not super concerned about. Lana asked about password managers. All of these are things I could talk about, like tools. I'm looking for like big symptoms here that get a lot of active discussion. So let's just start that. So here's one, like this, like we want content ideas. What's #1 skill every agency owner you should have, or you believe every agency owner should have? Being able to lick their knees. Okay, whatever. Finances. So I always look for the ones that get a lot of ones. Sam says, the biggest thing holding a lot of people back is just taking action on the right things 5 days a week. Building some basic daily habits would help you a lot more, would help a lot more people in this space succeed and get more clients. My answer equals discipline and habits. I actually kind of agree with them. Like working on the right things consistently. I know when I first started my agency, I didn't even know what the right things are to be able to work at them. So I did a lot of, like, you see beginners do this where they update a website, their own website 5,000 times that no one's ever even going to look at, right? My grandma likes my logo, I better tweak it again today. So I might make a post here just like about what useful habits are. And again, I would go back to the basics. Okay, like what are some of the bad habits that some of these people have? Like I just gave you an example of one that people do a bunch of stupid shit. So there's like a really good content idea, and I'm pretty sure it'll work because it already got like a lot of people to him agree with it. Just not doing the right things consistently. So here's like when if I wanted to like just talking about how competitive it is for web designers, Christian, like this could be a post idea. If I wanted to go get web designers looking for a fast, cost-effective web designer, looking to build out 2 simple websites, possibly using ClickFunnels or Shopify. Each website will only have a homepage, send previous work examples and pricing. And look at that, there's like 25 people. So imagine you're like, at least this guy's got some demonstrations, which is better than most. But imagine you're the person like way down here, like, let's connect, brother, would love to help you out. No offense to this guy, but he's got 0 shot of getting this deal 3 days after the fact, after they've already gotten hit up by like this guy's like, hey, I'll do it for $5 on Fiverr. Right? So this post could be an example, like, hey, you're a web designer. Do you ever look for people who post about, I need a website and it's not even a big project, just a small little homepage, and within 3 days, fucking they've been swamped by 50 or 100 people. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to get clients without having to do that? And then they send examples of your work and shop you on price. Like I could go on and on and on, point about all the symptoms. Again, I'm just looking for stuff that has comments or likes. Let's give you an example. I see Rolf's name. Looking for someone experienced in running Facebook and IG ads. This position would be long-term, small team. We'll be responsible for creating our ad proven campaigns, making changes based on KPIs. Would start 20 to 25 hours a week. Pay rate 18 to 18 bucks an hour. This to me is an example of like, just as somebody who's done this, like I know from experience having done this that he's probably going to get more bad people than good ones, just the way he's framed this thing, even though he's like probably, you know, made it as desirable as one can be. For if you're a beginning starting out Facebook person, you get, you know, 8 to 18 bucks an hour. 20, 25 hours a week of guaranteed work. That sounds cool, but I know from experience, if you don't first date a lot of these people, you'll end up with somebody who's like really good at interviewing, but probably not so good at actually running ads for you. So like that's a whole post I could make. It's just all the landmines of hiring. Here's another one that comes up. People looking for some kind of expert who can book calls on their calendar. By the way, if there's a symptom, what's he missing? He's trying to book calls on a calendar. What can you bet is probably not on his calendar? Right. So if I want to point to that, I could just show empty calendar. Oh, for somebody who's trying to fill a calendar and not succeeding, that's like an arrow through the chest. Like, duh, you got me. Does that make sense, Christian? Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I just didn't know if you had any sort of like, it seems like you just kind of do this whenever they
Well,
pop up. And so,
if you join the groups and if you're like just a normal Facebook person who wastes 10, 15 minutes scrolling in a day, which I do, it just finds me without me really trying because I'm part of all these groups.
yeah, for sure.
But you
Okay.
can also like manually go into the group and formally do research. Stretching. Anybody else got anything on this? Is this helpful to the rest of you guys? I'm like putting stuff out. When you do this, by the way, you can pitch 100 days in a row if you do it with content. Nobody will get mad. Nobody will be like, all that guy does is try and sell me shit. I'm so sick of him. I should actually mention this is an important piece. Is when you invite or when you pitch, you want to make it sound generally more like an invitation than we got the latest, greatest 1, 2, 3 gadget, blah, blah, blah. An invitation is more like, hey, Rolf, we're having this really cool dinner at this awesome Mexican restaurant, and there's going to be a bunch of music there and pretty girls, and they have the best enchiladas in 4 towns. Would you like to join us? So when you think about that, it's like it's much more like, hey, we're going to be helping 3 personal injury lawyers, personal trainers, websites, cleaning companies, car dealerships, whoever your people are. If you're interested in being one of those, just reach out. It's a much better process, I'll tell you, for onboarding the client to invite them than to sell them. That's why I think it's so important. And they're both just like, one's not more effective than the other. But what happens is if somebody feels invited and they're like, yeah, I would like to take you up on that invitation, they come in with a very different mentality than if you like hard sold them, like, we can get you the one. Like, I used to do stuff that was recommended by a lot of coaches and experts. I don't know if you guys do this, but you get on a sales call and you tell them that if they act now, you're going to drop the price for like $2,000. And by the time they hang up the phone call, the discount is no longer valid. And they sign up and they feel very, very pressured. And you get like, it shows up one way in the term of refunds. It shows up another way in terms of like distrust that you have to like overcome. A lot of buyer's remorse. When you just invite somebody, say, hey, we're doing this cool thing. Would you like an invite? And they say, yes, me. And then you say, can I send you some more details about the invite? And they say, yes. And then you send them the details and they say, I'd like to be part of that. They don't have the same level of buyer's remorse. They don't have the resistance about working with you. And you keep clients happier for longer through invitations. So that's a small detail, but I think it's don't be like, my 1, 2, 3 thing is amazing. Like, so instead of like, and you can just instead of saying like why your $300 car dealerships are the greatest thing ever, like in Zane's case, you can just say, if you'd like us to set up those for you, we've got a special little promotion right now that we're doing. Just let us know and we'll send you some details. It's just a little very casual invite. All right. I think that's badass, but I hope you guys like that as much as I do, because that's been a game changer, is understanding how to do content. When you do that long term, you can do what Mandy does, where you just like throw up a little post and people are like, okay, I'll buy your thing, with very, very little pushback or effort. And the other thing, it gives you reasons to be able to reach out to the same people over and over and over again without going, hey, did you read my proposal? Anybody got anything you want to add on that? All right, well, let's get into questions, whatever you guys got this week. Let's hear the worst of the worst and the best of the best.
All right, so one of the things that I saw in the group was something about managing passwords for clients. How do you do that? Because and what program will be the best? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, the passwords is a tricky thing because obviously it's sensitive information. I'll tell you what I don't think enough people think about is having the least amount of passwords to manage in the first place, is making your solution not have so many moving pieces that you need 47 passwords. Because that can be like very, very overwhelming to a client. Like I just found out that there are some tools, for example, where for getting into AdWords or something like that, the client just has to send a link. So I'm going to be testing those out over the next little bit so that
Leadsy?
yeah, I don't know if it's any good or not, but I'm going to try it. Like, but I think that's an under optimized thing, is like, don't ask them for a lot of passwords to begin with. Like keep your onboarding as lean as humanly possible. But having said that, like software wise, it's just been, I don't know. I've just used LastPass, and I'm not like a LastPass devotee or anything, but actually a couple of the people I've worked with have asked me, do you have LastPass? And when they first asked, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck LastPass is. And then, you know, I'm always hesitant to learn new software, but LastPass is pretty simple. It's just a plugin you install on your browser and you set up a master password. And then whenever you log into a website, you have the option, if you want to, of having LastPass save that. And I especially like it for like websites that are just really strange and want you to like have an overly complicated password for no reason. So like, for example, Click to Mail is one of those.
So what do you do if I have like every password in LastPass, and now I have a lot of clients that I actually want to delegate?
Yeah.
Can I add a user or for LastPass, and they only get some like
so
passwords and stuff?
So that's kind of the next thing I was going to say. So what ends up happening, and it's very, very simple, LastPass. So that's like the simpler software where you can understand it. The first time you use it is the best stuff.
Yeah.
They have a thing in there when you click on it in your little like icon for your browser extensions. It's called your vault, and it shows you, here's all my passwords that I have saved. If you want to, you can click and see the passwords. And then there's also a button next to it that says share it with someone else. And so you click share. Okay. And then what ends up happening is that person on their email, whatever they use for LastPass, says, hey, Rolf would like to invite you to this password. And then you click accept. And then when you go to that website, LastPass autofills it, but keeps it hidden so you can't see it.
Nice. So the V8 actually never get to see the
Correct.
password.
Correct. And so
why? Woohoo!
And you can also revoke that at some point if like your VA, you know, like, oh shit, my VA went crazy and I don't want them to have the password.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that was a good one. Thanks.
Yeah. And it's free, by the way, so you don't even have to pay for it. It has like a paid extra, but I've never needed it, so I don't even know what the paid extra is.
Perfect.
So Frankie, I followed your advice and created a group for cleaning business owners. And yeah, and I wanted to actually basically have your feedback on it, if that is okay for you.
Yeah, do you want to share screen and show it, or
yeah, sure.
Let me just there we go. Try again, it should work.
All right, cool. So I would have to click share screen button here somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I can see that now.
And just remember to like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, whenever you start like a new group, new audience, whatever, you're talking to yourself for the first 30 to 60 days. You just are.
Yeah, that's actually good to know. And you know, I mean, I'm not looking forward to actually talking to myself, but I know that that is the passive passage, right?
Yeah.
So couple of things that came to my mind. So one thing that came to my mind was that what I should call that group, right? And I was thinking about like successful cleaning business academy, building skills to succeed.
Yeah.
That was kind of one thing that I had in my mind. And then, because this is kind of basically the picture of what's going to be there. So I'm kind of thinking of putting something like that there, right? And then this is kind of what I kind of remember you mentioned, you know, in the beginning of, you know, in the beginning a couple of months ago, I think about 4 or 5 months ago, that, you know, cleaning businesses are losing ground to big corporate franchises like, and I would just kind of mention Molly Maid or stuff like that. And then effectively going to mentioning that Cleaning Academy gives you skills you need to level the playing field and succeed as a cleaning business owner. But this one is basically directly from kind of the inspiration I got from Beyond Agency, like the Wolfpack group, is like more important accomplish this in a way that do not take your life away while doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because they basically need to level the playing field and succeed as a cleaning business owner, but they don't want to give the life away doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
So can you go back to the image for a second?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the image. And then that's
The only thing I would say
yeah.
is
Cool.
I would drop the word academy. Academy is like, sounds like I got to buy something. You're building a community. And so it's a community of like successful cleaning business. And then just saying
so that would be
that.
forum, yeah? So would forum be a better solution?
No, I would just, those 3 words, successful cleaning business.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Or
what do
successful
you think
cleaning
about this
business owners or businesses or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you got 2 types of people that join. One that are successful cleaning businesses and want to know other ones, and then ones who are looking to become. But either way, they all have that desire. I actually did a bad job naming my group, so don't use me as an example.
But I think that what you mentioned there is good. I would appreciate like feedback from the Wolfpack members too, like any of you can kind of chip in if you have any ideas or any feedback on this. But I'm kind of thinking that I like the idea about successful cleaning business, what you mentioned here, because, you know, it's like probably a company or person who has a business or someone who aspires to actually build a successful cleaning business. You know, so I like that name actually. It's kind of shorter and sweet, basically. And this one brings it just what you mentioned, what you taught me in the beginning, is that you mentioned that I should kind of mention that they're losing grounds, and Molly Maid and all the other big companies, they are kind of makes that kind of relative to their situation, right? Brings them in basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you 2 things. I think the description is probably better just for like group rules, but this is a good post, so I wouldn't like scrap it. I would just get a little more finger pointy. Like the more you can name the big corporate franchises like by name, there's a big difference between losing business to competition and losing business to Molly Maid.
Yeah.
If I'm doing that with a lawyer and I tell him how competitive it is, like I'll give you an example. Anybody who's in the southeastern United States is like heavily competing with Morgan & Morgan, and they all hate Morgan & Morgan. And so if I talk to a lawyer, like in chat, whatever, like in that area, the first thing I'll say to him, man, you guys are in Morgan & Morgan territory. Fucking hate Morgan & Morgan. Okay? But they're so much more motivated to want to create a solution because it's a finger pointy problem that I can point to. If I just say, hey, is it a competitive area? They'll say, yeah. But I say, are you guys in Morgan & Morgan territory? So can you go back to the description for a second?
Yeah, sure. Description, yeah.
So what does that mean, leveling the playing field? Like that to me is not finger pointy enough.
Okay. Yeah, so my idea was like, you know, I mean, basically give them marketing advice and the tools they need, like softwares and the marketing advice they need, like strategy and to become the go-to cleaning company, you know, and I think like one of the posts I read in the group, like Beyond Agency group, is that I think there was one who wrote, I don't remember which Wolfpack member mentioned it, but it was one who posted that, it's not kind of the customer's job to become a marketing genius, right? Or become kind of the marketer.
Yeah.
And they have enough to take care of their business. They have enough things to do or enough stuff going on to take care of the business. It's our job basically to help them out, right? And that's kind of what I want to kind of convey here, because if I want to kind of compete with those people who are like been cleaning for 20 years, right? They know in and out of cleaning an oven, right? I couldn't be able to compete with them, right? If I want to kind of create that kind of group, but here you get answers to how to clean the bathroom, right? Because they're probably doing that 20 years. But what I want to bring to the table is what they do not actually bring to the table, which is actually the insight in terms of the digital age that we live in and the marketing skills that they need to know and they need help with, that we can actually bring them.
Then I might add a fourth word to that title: successful cleaning business marketing. That's the name.
Oh, okay. Cool. Got it.
Because if that's what you're going to talk about, like, and believe it or not, in the beginning, it seemed, you may think like you want to be like the hero of your own group, but you actually want to build a community where the discussions happen without you. And that won't happen in the beginning. In the beginning, it'll just be 100% you talking to you. I would just say marketing, not marketer.
Okay.
So they don't see themselves as marketer, but they would definitely want to have the marketing of a successful cleaning business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that description, like I said, I think is a good post. So I would, but I think the description's like probably better place just for like the rules, like don't spam people. Here's what we're going to talk about. That kind of thing.
I see what you mean. Cool. So,
Yeah,
but other than that, it's okay. Other than that,
I mean, and this will be a continuous improvement process.
Sure, obviously,
directly.
yeah.
Like for me, like I called the group Beyond Agency Profits, not because it's a great group name, but because that's what my book was named, and so like it, it goes like kind of hand in hand. And then one day I was talking to Oral, and I said, like do it in a way so that you have leverage in your business, so you get like more beach and less laptop, And he was like, oh my God, that should be a slogan: more beach, less laptop. And I kind of liked it. It was a simple way to say it. And so I updated the header, and it says now more beach, less laptop. And then I added a little hyphen that says agency lifestyle design, because he gave me that idea. I didn't like have like a strike of lightning. He just said it, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I should do that. So that's my way of saying like this will get better. But the other thing I would do is if you can make the header itself image a dramatic demonstration, that will also make it more appealing. I don't actually have a dramatic, mine just really says who it's for.
Okay. Like, because my idea was that, basically like they're going up the ladder, right, to build a successful cleaning business, right? And obviously I will change the name, and building skills, marketing skills to succeed, basically. Yeah. Marketing skill. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's a bad image. I just think if you could make that like more real worldy dramatic demonstration and less like stock photo-y, like because anybody here got a business that feels like climbing a graph? Where does it feel like more like craziness of clients and ad managers and reports and hustling and those?
The thing is, I got that custom made, this one here, because like there is no image that you actually I could find where there is a cleaner who's like kind of building up the ladder. It normally would kind of a person image with a dress or some other kind of suit, no one with a kind of cleaning vacuum in the hand, right? So basically I got that custom image made.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't think it's a bad image. I'm just saying, I think you can make it like stronger with a demonstration. Like if you literally just put Molly Maid's logo, put an X through it, like it would be.
Yeah. All right. Let's test it out, right? Build a group. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's just you and I, Tarek. Everybody left in 5 minutes. We scared them all.
No, I appreciate it. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to building this group. I think that's kind of as you mentioned, right? When you have when you have a group, you can basically kind of, shoot more balls, right? I mean, in terms of the golf course.
Yeah.
And if you do not have that group, it's like always starting from the beginning, always starting at the end and starting to, work little by little up the ladder, right? It's kind of very difficult instead of just having the group. And the story we mentioned about that woman who basically just within a lousy email offer got sold out within an hour. And he could do that because she basically had a group, had a following and she basically created that trust factor, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they already knew who she was and what she was about and what she did and why they'd want to work with her. And she probably over a year helped them 50 times already. So like for them, it was a no-brainer to like, this is the person who's already helped me 50 times. Why would I not want to work with them 51, right? So that's what you're ultimately creating. But I'll tell you, it moves in phases just from experience. Like I said, the first 60 days, it's just Tarek talking to Tarek.
Okay.
And then what you'll find is like, occasionally someone will start liking a post of yours. You're like, oh, okay. So there's another human out there who liked it and agreed with me.
Would you recommend marketing this group to other people, like the other groups? Would you recommend?
What I do is, and I got this from Ilka and my lady who figured this out, and what she does, which I thought was really, really clever, is like she does a lot of home birth stuff. She goes into all the other home birth and hypnobirth and like related groups, and she finds people who are already active and having discussions, and she just clicks friend, 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 friend. And then she makes a post from her profile inviting people to the group. And I just added the step of organizing those people into a list because I have a mixture of family and business on my profile. And when I want to make business posts, I don't want family to be interfering with those kind of posts.
Cool.
So when I do those, I just add that one extra step. But that's basically it. I just go into other groups that have all those people and just add them. Like it's literally like an extra points if those are shoe buyer groups.
Yeah.
Just not randomly adding people. Like if it's like a cleaning, like, so I don't necessarily know what this is for cleaning companies, but like, let me just see if I can find the targeting doc for you real quick.
We have some.
Can I kick you off the share screen for a second?
Sure.
Can you see mine?
Yep.
But this is all I do. So I go, who are the cleaning company gurus? I might have to do a little research. I might have to like literally just Google it. I don't know. And then I go.
I cannot see your screen now, Frankie. Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah. Let me. I'm gonna kick you out of.
Okay. Cool.
Oh.
Stop share.
Can you,
okay, stop share.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, what just
Yeah,
happened?
I can see that now. Yeah.
Oh,
Language learning. Yeah.
That's not what I meant to actually click. That's an old plugin I had.
Okay, cool.
So these are the 7 things that I look at. This is my shortcut for finding shoe buyers. So I go, who are the influencers and the gurus in the cleaning edge?
Yep.
Like, who are the people that they look up to? I go friend their people. I go, what do they read? Are there any like books about growing a cleaning company or things like that? Sometimes there are, sometimes there are not. But if there's a cleaning company magazine or a book on Amazon, I'm going to follow that. I look at just there any online discussion groups or forums.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any associations? Is there like the Cleaning Company of America Association? There probably is. I'd probably bet a good amount of money. That's just cleaning company person. You can find them all. Can you target those? Another thing is like software and tools. Do they use software for invoicing? Do they use software for payment management? Like for me, a Goldmine has been finding out there's like a high level group of 10,000 people. Like almost everybody there is paying $300 a month to be part of that, or anywhere from 100 to 300 bucks a month. So I know they're all buyers, right? So whatever software they're using, invoicing. Maybe they keep inventory software for like all the cleaning products. I don't know. Especially the bigger companies that aren't just doing it with like one little crew. If they've got 10 crews, 20 crews, they might have to be like a lot more organized.
Yeah.
Are there any cleaning company events? I bet you there are.
Yep.
Like there's things they go to. And then I just look for like, what are the competing products and services? So it's like, if they're buying SEO from that guy, they may just be interested in those kind of things. So I see if they have those kind of things. And I just, one by one, are there gurus? Can the gurus be targeted? Sometimes there's gurus and you can't target them. You can't figure out how I would add those people. But if you go through this list, almost always you'll have like 3 to 10 really good sources of shoe buyers.
I can see it's kind of lined up very kind of methodically, right?
Yeah. So then all I do is I just go and add those people, and then I just make invites and I say, hey, we're talking about blah, blah, blah in the group. We're talking about Molly Maid and why they suck and how to stay ahead of Molly Maid. If you're interested, come join our group.
Okay, cool. Got it.
And you know, it takes a little bit to get some traction. That's the hardest part, is just getting a little bit of lift off.
Okay.
But in 6 months from now, if you do it like maybe not every day, but like frequently add people like a couple times a week and invite people and post in it in a month, or in 6 months, you'll have something where people are basically pre-sold and working with you.
Okay, cool. Like, but when I'm kind of selling the software and stuff, like marketing software or how to make their life easier, would I still kind of, market it as a kind of cleaning business marketing, or, or like successful cleaning business marketing? It's probably, everything is within marketing, but it's also about running the company and growing the company and kind of, it's basically kind of attracting the clients, and just like you mentioned, right? Attracting the clients and then fulfilling the order and doing it in a systemized way, basically. Yeah. Right. So would I still call it like successful cleaning business marketing, or should I just call it successful cleaning business, basically?
Yeah, if you're gonna talk about delivery too, I would just talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably shrink it down a little bit, because because like mine is like lifestyle design. I mostly talk about marketing because that's the key to getting the income goals. But occasionally I talk about like virtual assistants and managing people and teams and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Frankie. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, I look forward to kind of showing you how many group members I get. So.
Yeah, and in the beginning, every single one you get is a win. So celebrate each one. And sometimes I like to, when there's only like 3 group members, and like there's not a lot of traction in the beginning. Sometimes like the benefit of only having 3 people is you can keep it very intimate. You can like, hey, direct, like I can send you a direct message. When there's 1,000 group members, you don't have time to message everyone. But when there's 6, you can say, hey, direct, we're really excited to welcome you to this new group and to see what it'll become together.
But like, Frankie, like now that you have like over 600 members, right? Like when you post something in your group, does it like automatically being shown to everyone in the group?
No, I'd say anywhere from like a third to a half is typical.
Okay.
On an average post. And,
okay. So Facebook limits it, right? I mean, it doesn't allow you to show it to everybody.
Yeah, but I mean there's lots of reasons. Some of those people may have just not logged in, and may not have been active, or they just don't find me interesting and don't read my stuff. So I'm okay with Facebook. Usually the most avid people for you, Facebook's going to put you in front of.
Okay, got it. Cool. Cool. Appreciate it, Frankie.
Yeah, and then it's just like continuously moving the ball down the hole once you start.
Yeah. And that's what I like about this successful cleaning business, because this is kind of a goal that is kind of not attainable within a day. And you can basically bring in more and more ideas and solutions that helps you to kind of reach that goal. Yes. So you always have something to work towards instead of just giving them a widget and that's all you have, nothing else.
Yeah, it's never ending, right? Like the human spirit is designed for expansion. So when you're just starting, like I said, when I first started my agency, my goal was just like, if I could just get to $5 grand a month, that would be so fucking life-changing for me. And then I did, and then my next thought was like, how about 10 and 20 and then 30? And like, and you started developing goals that were bigger than just income. You start thinking about impact, you start thinking about how can I be a better leader and employee, and how can I get better staff, and how can I get better clients altogether, and how can I make a bigger difference in this, and so it's even when they hit those goals, they'll just be new goals. So like there's always an opportunity for you to help them with the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
And the naming actually helps it not to kind of limit the level of help you can give them, right?
Yeah.
So
and also a lot of it will come from them. Like, believe it or not, like so for example, I've been thinking about like something that you could offer people, and Justin just said, hey, I doubled my biggest client and got a revenue share part of it. And I said, what did you do? And he just said, I offered a blank. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. I think we should all go around and just offer a little more to our clients. The worst they could say is no, thank you, right? Just do it in a very casual way. Like, I'm inviting you to this new thing that I'm trying. Would you like to be that person? And but that's an example of like, once you have conversations going, like it comes from them just as much as you, right? Like, I didn't think of that. They just, hey, I tried some shit and it worked. Oh, okay. I wonder if that would work for other people. Probably, yeah. We should do something with that.
Frankie, in terms of revenue share, like, I mean, are they kind of taking a percentage of the net income or the gross income? Do you know, like, do you have any recommendation? Like, if they kind of make $10, you'll take a percentage of that, or do you recommend? Yeah, okay.
Usually most of my people have good margins on their stuff, but when they don't, it helps to know it, like in e-commerce especially, right? Because they may sell $100 thing but keep $20 of that. So if you say my fee is 45, there's just no way that's going to work. But as a general rule, I like to keep it like 40 to 50% of what you're making. If you're the one taking all the risk, then you get paid for it more. It's like the equivalent of, like, when I want to use simple metaphors, if I have a pen that you can write a check and it'll magically cash, and I say to you, give me $100 for that pen, and you can write checks for as much as you want, you're gonna probably be like skeptical and try and like, okay, I'll give you $10 and let me try it, kind of thing. If I say to you, hey, I got this magic pen, you write checks, they'll magically cash. I just want you to pay me 40% every time that magical pen cashes. Are you cool with that? So yeah, why not, right? Like, if you can bring that in, I'm happy to. So there's a couple of things that make revenue share like a little bit interesting, but it's basically like, if you're willing to take on more of the risk, then you just get bigger shares of it. But the tricky thing is, like, the risk involved in that is, like, you can do a lot of work and not get paid for it. Or you can take on a client and it just turns out they're not a good fit for any number of reasons, and it's going to be really hard to sell their stuff. So how we manage that risk, like as a smart investor, is just small first.
Fight out first, right? Yeah, exactly. First date, just like you said.
Let's try working together for 4 days. It doesn't work in 4 days, then adding 4 months or 4 years is not going to make it like magically easier.
Yeah, I'm kind of striving with kind of saying goodbye to clients that I don't want to work with anymore, like those who are like you're just like you gave the example of the first customer you had, right, for a long time back, like 20 years ago. It's like the customers that do not pick up the phone, do not do anything, right? Don't take your advice, nothing at all, just complain on, hey, it's not working, right?
Yeah. It's all about
and I just don't know how to say that, how to break it to them, right? I mean, like, I'm just kind of striving to, send that letter internally, emotionally, like, how do I let them go? Like, because I'm not the same person who I was, right, before I met you, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna put that in the members area, because you're not the only one who's ever had to fire a client. I'm gonna give you a template for that.
We can probably do a kind of a live session on that, basically, because that's an emotional strive, actually.
Yeah. Usually, though, I'll tell you, when it comes to firing clients, there's two things that. One is there's a saying, the fear of death is worse than death itself. I think that's true in general. Firing clients, you stress about it more than they do, because usually if if it's not working for you, it's probably not working for them. So they're not going to be super disappointed about getting let go.
Okay.
And there could be lots of reasons. Like often it's not working for them because it's their own fault. But regardless, they're probably not like loving you if you're feeling the same way about them. And so they usually don't give you much pushback. But what I like to do is and I'll give you a template for this over the next day and I'll send it to you and put it in the members area. But I call it the George Costanza. I don't know if you ever saw that in Seinfeld when he breaks up with the girl and he's like, it's not you, it's me.
Okay. All right.
And
Cool.
it could just be as simple as like, hey, it's not you, it's me. We're changing as an agency. And now because of that, I just realized that we're not the best one suited to help you and it's not fair to continue this. It's not you, it's me.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Simple and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
It's not you, it's me.
That's a good one.
All right. Jack.
It's a good. They cannot say anything. Thank you. Thank you, Frankie. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, I'll
with
send you
your
the
family.
template probably tomorrow, okay?
Thank you. Take care.